You're listening to Empire of Rust, the world's first and only Transformers RPG podcast. Join the heroes of Icon as they defend Cybertronian civilization from the remnants of Cybertron First to Lord Starscream's egotistical leadership, and beyond to the unknown threats on the other side of distant stars.
Welcome back to Empire of Rust, and I have to apologize to every single listener and all of you. You want to know why?
Why?
Because I didn't end last week's episode on a cliffhanger. I feel like I let you down.
You know what it was, though? Because last episode was patient. It's all like, it was closure. It was an episode about closure. Like, you know, so...
that was the cliffhanger to end all cliffhangers. Waiting for that other shoe to drop.
Yeah.
The entire episode was the conclusion of a cliffhanger. Well, that is good. I don't feel as bad about myself right now.
But you should still feel bad.
Yeah definitely.
Okay.
Don't start climbing up on a pedestal now.
My self-esteem went up 2 points and then down 4.
There's a Tool song about that. It's just like, I will work to elevate you just enough to bring you down.
Rude.
So you're a Tool fan.
Bam. Oh, major. Big time.
I thought you were just going to stop at the you're a tool.
I would have agreed with it either way.
I was all set to go like, yep.
God, I haven't heard Tool in forever.
Yeah.
Are they still a thing?
Yeah, when they finally came out with an album after like 13 years. It's quite good.
I don't think I'd recognize them if I heard it.
There's a drub cam for one of their new songs, Numa, and it shows just, you know, it's a close-up of Danny Carey's through the whole song live. And it's insane. It's like legitimately insane. Like, he is not human. And I've watched a lot of like reactions of people like reacting to it. So like, like drummers, like they're like, oh yeah, like I'm a drummer and I teach people how to drum. And then they watch this and they're like, no, like that's no, like people shouldn't be able to do this.
Am I to believe that the laws of physics don't apply to your drum set?
Yeah, pretty much.
He's like one of those people who throw their coins up in the air and can shoot the coin.
Right.
What have they done? Because I'm trying to remember like a song of theirs, and I'm just drawing a blank. It's been so long.
Sober, Anima.
Don't know it.
Vicarious.
You know it.
The Pot.
If you heard it again, you'd know it.
He's just making up words.
I mean, Numa,
I don't believe it.
Fear Inoculum, Invincible, Right in 2, 46 and 2.
Invincible sounds familiar.
That's one of the newer ones.
Oh, then, okay.
Yeah.
I'm making something up then.
Pollo Absolutum.
Yep, you're just trying to seem cool now, Mike.
Yeah, 10,000 Days, Wings for Marie, Part 1 and 2, Zombie.
Yeah, I don't recognize like any of the names. If I heard them, maybe.
Hooker with a Penis, Jimmy, H.
See, he could be saying anything right now. We would have no idea.
Swamp, Prison Sex.
You could be making up words.
These are all lyric. These are all help us.
Are you just doing word association with the porn on your walls?
No. Well, yeah, Prison Sex has got a good one. It's just like, I have found some form of temporary sanity in the in my hands. You may have to cut that part out, but that's okay.
I can't cut it out of my brain.
Right. But he sings it, so it's much nicer, you know.
Maybe I should bleep it and just leave it as the one bleep thing in the entire podcast.
Well, it sounds nicer in the song because they put it to music.
But yeah, no, I'm a big fan of theirs, and I recommend their music very highly.
This is what you hear when you get a recommendation. Imagine what you get from someone who doesn't like them.
Prison Sex with the recommendation, huh?
It's a great song. It really is.
I highly recommend Prison Sex.
Yep, I do.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of fans I know.
I mean, admittedly,
I wanted to talk about something else for the beginning of this episode.
Sure. We can
Instead of Tool.
We can get rid of it. Hey, I didn't start this. Maybe I did.
I wanted to ask all of you, like, what kind of game systems did you guys play when you were younger? So back when I was a kid, I bought the box set of Starfleet Battles, I didn't have anyone to play with, but I still bought the box set because it looked amazing.
It does.
And for those of you who don't know, Starfleet Battles is like a pen and paper, not even miniatures. You can't call it a miniatures game, but it's like a tactical war game with just little cardboard cutouts of starships. But the cool thing is, like, you could manage the entire starship. Like, you actually had to manage the pen and paper version of like power supply, weapons, shields, and everything. And I just thought it was so amazing. Never played it for like 10 years until I finally got the chance to. But yeah. So I wanted to hear what you guys actually played when you were younger. And was it as cool as Starfleet Battles?
Well, I don't think I have anything to compare with 4 hours a turn. But although I must say I did enjoy Starfleet Battles very much when we did it. People who like detail will love that. But I mean, I didn't do any role playing until about 18 in college, freshman year.
Corn Niblet? Is that Corn Niblets?
That was the one, yeah. Yeah. Actually, Corn Niblets was you guys all know Rob, you know. He played in that game. I played the first role-playing game I ever played in, and I played with Rob in there. He was a dwarf called Belog Thunderdick. And he mutated everyone's names like he does today. So I became Corn Niblets. I don't remember what my actual real name was. It wasn't nearly as good as that, but
I thought Corn Niblets was the system. So what is this? Is it just D&D?
Oh, no, it was Advanced Dungeons and Dragons First Edition. A sort of brutal system, a bit, you know. We're starting a second edition. I was going to play a Scientist, and we played for one game, and then the DM didn't want to DM anymore, and the new DM switched us to First Edition. So I became the worst thief in the world with the same stats. So, but a lot of psionic powers. It was bizarre, but it was a lot of fun. Got our asses. This is the ass kicking kind of DM, you know.
What about you, Mike? Did you play any Corn Niblets?
I did not play Corn Niblets. I did play some AD&D and Vampire the Masquerade. That's what I started with.
I never played Vampire.
No, do you play any of those systems?
No, I started with 3.0 for D&D.
Ah.
So I unfortunately missed out on the whole first and second edition.
I got a bunch of second edition stuff you can have for cheap. Let me tell you.
Second edition was archaic rules-wise in so many ways. But they were king of content because they were more. There probably still are more supplements, magic item rule, like extra things, spells, all sorts of cool stuff.
That also led to their downfall.
Yeah, it collapsed under its own weight, I guess. But
yeah, they were making too much stuff and not making enough money.
Oh, really? Okay,
which is why. Yeah, that's how Wizards of the Coast bought them.
Yeah,
because they basically running out of money.
It was TSR at the time, right?
Right.
No, like I said, the first thing I played was Starfleet Battles, and I wrote up a G.I. Joe like RPG, like tactical RPG that I use like my old G.I. Joes with.
Oh, cool.
But that was it. But no, like I said,
awesome.
I didn't start until like 3.0, and by that point everything was fairly well developed. So
I mean, how are you gonna have a tactical RPG with G.I. Joes? I mean, they never hit anything.
No, they can destroy robots fine.
Yeah.
And their reflex saves are amazing. Like anyone flying a pilot, like out.
Yeah, but the vehicles were made like paper.
Yeah.
They took one hit and they're gone.
What did you put all of your build points in? Ejector seats.
That works.
Yeah, I wrote up like this whole rule set for like how far they could move in feet.
Oh, wow.
Cool.
Yeah, like what their range was, like based on the weapon. Like some of them had like the spring-loaded missile launchers. They had the longer range, of course.
That's awesome.
Did you ever take the spring out, stretch it out, and then squeeze it back in to increase the range?
Never did, no.
That's called modding.
Yeah.
So what about you, Adam? What'd you play when you were a kid there?
Role-playing? I'd have to say
everything.
Just about. I mean, I got started. Some older kids in the neighborhood on a rainy day took some of us younger kids inside, and they started to do, or one of them started to run us through a dungeon. just a dungeon crawl. Everything was theater of the mind, except the graph paper, which had everything, including our positions and all that. That was first edition. My first taste of what RPGing was.
Wasn't really theater of the mind then, if you had the graph paper with everything, right?
Well, yeah. I guess the graph paper was the only thing to key us in. A few years later, got into first edition with a friend, and we didn't really play so much. We just talked about it a lot and made up characters and, had big plans, but neither one of us wanted to run. Then got to high school and started playing with some friends there. And I was delegated to be the GM at the time. So I had to read through as much as I could and keep them up. And right about that time in high school is when second edition came out. And that's when it exploded. We just went hog wild for everything. I would pick up a book, my friend would pick up a book, his friend would pick up a book, and we'd cycle through and bring everything to the table, and we all share.
That's cool.
Which was good, because we're all broke all the time.
What about you, Pat? Do you have a similar story? Taken under the wing by a more experienced gamer?
Kinda. I mean, when I was a real young kid, I was introduced to like 0th edition, but then I kind of stopped going to church. And then when I was in high school, I was about 15, I was exposed to like Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. Though it's funny, the guy I ended up playing with, who's one of my best friends still, he was a year ahead of me, and I was in a game in 7th grade. We had a class called Puzzles and Games, and he and a friend of his were actually playing that in the room, and I had no idea what it was. I was doing jigsaw puzzles at the time. But I didn't, so we started playing it like, I was about 15. That's the first kind of thing that I did. Other than that, it was like board games and card games and stuff prior to that. But I was a big Planescape guy, which is pretty much 2nd edition, and like still my favorite setting to this day, just because of, it was more about ideas and philosophy and morality than it was about killing monsters and looting things. Like, yes, those things happened, but they were incidental. Like, it was, so I love that.
Yeah, that was a really cool setting. You're right.
And, and then I, played with Rumi, like, my freshman year in college as well.
They don't know who that is, but.
Right. Matt. Matt was my first DM in college. Yeah, that was good. And then I think right near the end of college, that's when 3rd edition came out. And I remember being very, resistant to it at the time. And then, like, in a lot of ways, it's a better system. Like you said, the mechanics of 2nd edition were awful, but the ideas were wonderful, so it was one of those things. And then over the years, I've played a lot of stuff. I played, like, 7th, and I played Marvel, and I played Star Wars, and I played, that kind of stuff. But that was all, like, college and just post-college. But, like, under 15, not really anything.
I have to jump in. One of the other OLED systems I enjoyed the most was Savage Worlds, which
that's a fun system.
Mike ran for me the first time when we did our Adam, you ran it, right?
Did I? I don't think I did.
No, it was Mike ran it for us, and I was a rat catcher, like something like that. Mm-hmm, anyway, mm-hmm. Mike.
That was Warhammer.
That was Warhammer. I've never played Warhammer.
Yeah. That was with you and Adam. You were the rat catcher. Yeah.
That was Warhammer?
I remember you being the rat catcher.
Why did I think it was Savage Worlds? I guess it wasn't that memorable.
Savage Worlds was the Halloween one-shots that I was doing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and you did Star Trek with the Savage Worlds, which was awesome. That's probably why I remember. I enjoyed the campaign, whatever the system was, when I was the rat catcher, immensely. I guess I remember it more than the rules.
That was Warhammer Fantasy 2nd edition.
Okay, cool. Well, I mean, I had a lot of fun, so I guess that's what's important. But yeah, I mean, Mike did a Star Trek game, and he did a whole campaign, and it was like being in a original series episode, and it was the best.
It worked out pretty well. It was all up to you guys. You guys made it happen.
Speaking of having fun, We need to have some fun in our make-believe universe, don't we?
Oh, no,
Why you always gotta ruin things, Mike?
this is real. This is real. Earth's in the setting. We've established this.
I don't know about you, but I'm just a brain in a jar. But
I'm as old as Daniel.
All right, so when we finished up last episode, you had gotten all of the pieces of a broken space bridge from the Doctorma system into the hold of the Steel Haven. And with some pretty solid piloting rolls from our pilot Sweet Spot here.
Thank you.
You managed to get everything back in one piece, and you only took one big ding on your roof. You'll have to buff that up pretty soon.
That'll only take about 10 minutes.
did you lose any hit points? I don't.
No, I didn't get into hit points at this level. Are you crazy?
Since you have everything here in the Steel Haven, I don't see any particular need for you guys to hang around the remnant of this broken moon. So if you want to, you can go ahead and tell the captain, tell Silverlode, to go ahead and set course for Scarvix, so you can start making your way there. And what Bulkhead and the engineering team is going to do is they're just, like, as you guys are doing your own thing, they're going to get started on the space bridge and start trying to repair it, put that together.
Cool.
Do we want to bring this back to Cybertron first?
You can bring it wherever you like.
We have no way of testing it here, though. We can't provide enough power to test it here.
No, not at all.
Right. I guess the idea is, like, obviously, because Starscream is the one who sent us on this, he didn't give us any information, but is there a specific place that this is intended to be used? Like, does Scarvix have a space bridge?
Scarvix does not.
It does not.
Ooh.
Would it be useful if it did?
I'm betting it would.
That's something that you guys are going to need to figure out when you get there, because Scarvix is not a colony world, or it's not even a mechanical world. It's organic, but since it's such a big trade city or trade planet, you'll find mechanical life, organic, cyborgs. You'll find a whole bunch. And since they're part of the Galactic Council, they might not want to have anything to do with Cybertron. You can kind of get a feel of that when you get there.
It might not be the wisest thing to say that we've just pinched a space bridge from their territory.
Oh, of course. I mean,
because then they're going to figure it belongs to them and not us.
I mean, I guess I was just curious, like Adam or somebody, I think it was Adam, made a joke about, like, it's like, oh, like the space bridge, this amazing, miraculous, non-existent technology is going to save us 5 days of space travel time. And you're like, no, well, like, usually use something like this for, like, oh, this would have taken us 1,000 years to get there. Like, it's just like, they're like, they're like research centers in Pandemic. It's just like, you want to keep them far enough away so that they actually maximize their utility.
We're probably just lucky that they was this close, Probably
right.
The only reason we picked it up.
Maybe they're just lazy.
If it's only 5 days away, then maybe we should just return it to Cybertron just so that we don't have to deal with it, and then make our way to Scarvix. Because, I mean, especially if Scarvix doesn't care for us, they're just... all they have to do is take over the ship, and they've got access to this thing. Like, this thing is...
Hey, I thought you said that you were taking care of that.
Taking care of what?
That's that whole taking over the ship thing.
Oh, no.
It's not going to happen on your watch, right?
There's the difference between, like, a couple of people trying to board a ship and an armada wiping us out. Like, there's nothing I can do against an armada,
Then we don't have to worry about it in either case. If it's an armada they're going to throw after us, then we're doomed from the start.
Okay,
I think they. I think the point is they might not attack us if we don't have something they want.
But if you can't do anything about the Armada, can you do something about Cyclonus?
And his Armada. And this shall be your ship, yes. Don't you mean Bombshell? Right? Isn't that where Bombshell ended up?
Too soon.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows where the Armada ended up?
So I guess my point was, like, if we're only 5 days away, bringing it back to Cybertron so that they can decide what to do with it feels like the wisest course of action. But
Second that.
If you guys are, like, jonesing to get to Scarvix, and then obviously let's do it. But, like, is it in the other direction? Like, maybe that'll even answer it. Is it? Are we going to be going past Cybertron to get back anyway?
Think about it like this. So if you were to draw a line from Cybertron to Scarvix, or Cybertron to the Dockerma system here, both are the equivalent distance. So both would be about like 5-6 days away, give or take, except that it's effectively on like a circle going around Cybertron. So it's going to take another 2 or 3 days or so to get to Scarvix from here, simply because it's on, you have to move laterally. But it's going to be 5 days there and then 5 days back to Scarvix.
Right. And I don't care about days since I'm 70 million years old. Like, that's like, I've taken robotic shits longer than that,
Have you now?
when we were joined as Alloy, I actually recall him thinking fondly upon one of those moments. And now I can't get it out of my head. Thank you.
You experienced it.
Yeah.
That's where those little lumps of bolts and nuts come from.
Are we closer to the place that I want to visit from here, or are we closer to Scarvix? Or Scarvix closest to the place?
So here's the kind of distances here. The place that you wanted to go, Mike, Teonia, is a little bit further away than Scarvix. Scarvix is the closest destination to where you are right now. And if you were to head to Cybertron from there, Cybertron would be the furthest away. So in terms of distance, Scarvix is closest, Teonia is next closest, but it's also in the opposite direction, and then Cybertron is the furthest.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we go to Scarvix now, then we'll be closer to Teonia.
Or go to Teonia first.
See, so here's my one concern, and obviously you feel free to ignore this, but the one thing that we didn't do successfully in that last interaction was we let the ship get away. So they know what ship we are. And
if they could scan us.
I mean, you could just look out the window and you'd be like, oh, look at that. It's the make and model. Like, it's not a hard thing to figure that out. And they know why we were there. And so it's one of those things like, so if there isn't like a bounty on our heads already, I will be amazed.
And just looking at the map, if I assume that's okay, I'll look at the map. Teonia is also in the Black Block Consortium.
Correct.
So that's probably the last place we want to fly with the Space Gate or
right.
Star Bridge. So I mean, I would still support going to back, just dropping it off at Cybertron first, just simplify it,
That's what I would do.
We got 2 votes for going back to Cybertron, dropping it off. To Adam and Mike, which would you prefer? Mike, you want to head to Teonia first?
No, that's fine. We can drop it off first. That makes sense.
All right, then Adam, I'm not even going to ask you because 3-1 against you.
All right. That's fair.
But would you like to go back to Cybertron and drop it off as well?
If that is the general consensus, I will concede the point and defer to the majority.
Like a true politician. You can head back to Cybertron. Bulkhead and his engineering team aren't going to finish the repairs until after you guys arrive. But you can already see that it's actually starting to come together, and the physical structure has been linked, has been combined, and is now one ring for the space bridge. So you think that probably another day or so, and he'll be able to finish it up.
We're probably lucky Rex isn't here. He'd be chewing on it.
Can I kind of be looking over the shoulder while they do. I'm still learning engineering stuff, so why not learn on the most complicated piece of machinery that exists?
Yeah, sure, go for it. So
And it's starting
you
at the
guys
top.
have you'll have 5 days to head back, and then presumably you'll, as soon as you drop it off, you'll start heading out again, and then head over to Scarvix. So you have 5 days there, 5 days back, or sorry, 5 days to Cybertron, then 5 days to Scarvix. Pat, you said you were going to hang around like over their shoulder, try to learn some engineering stuff.
Yep.
Anything else you want to do? And what do you want to do for the second leg of that journey?
So, I mean, I keep doing that and or working on my piloting, because like those are the two things that I'm learning in my, that sort of thing.
All right, Matt, what would Magnum like to do in the 5 days back and then the 5 days to Scarvix?
I'm not sure how much information I've gotten from the data crystal yet, but do we have some idea of what's in it now that I studied it for a couple days? Or
Yes, these are the star charts that they're essentially the path that Star Runner took, and it's the thing that you were comparing to the star charts in the central archive. So effectively, like that's like what you're studying. You're studying his star charts, trying to make sense of them, because he used different terms and a different, not so much different language, but a different like descriptors for everything. So you're effectively like having to translate what he meant by different things.
okay, and remind me what's at the end of the trail that we think.
You're not certain what's at the end. All you know is that it was important to Quick Switch for some reason. It was important enough for him to dedicate a good amount of resources to attempting to translate this and to figure out what his path was.
Did we find anything about the harmonium? I know we did a little research.
You have not yet.
I don't think we didn't do it.
You have not yet.
I wasn't able to find anything. All right. Okay, well, actually, Magnum will ask around the ship to see if anyone's heard about them, because we've got quite a few people here.
You do. Go ahead and give me a... would be diplomacy nowadays?
31 for diplomacy.
So you kind of question the crew a little bit and try to keep it as casual as possible. And you get a couple of little bits of information. The Harmonium, it is effectively a mythical colony. So there are a number of colonies that are absolutely, they're set, they're real, you can go there, you can visit them. Velocitron, Division, Caminus, they're all these colonies that physically exist and are known about. There's a number of colonies, of course, that were theorized, or maybe there was some like just a scattered record about, hey, this Titan left at this point in time and set up a civilization on this planet. But one notice, like one little record, and that's the kind of information you're getting about the Harmonium. It sounds like it either is or was a Cybertronian colony at one point, but no one has heard of what happened to it, where it is now, what's going on with it. It feels an awful lot like the Legend of Atlantis to us, where it's just like it might have existed, maybe it's just a myth, who knows. But the people you are talking to you do get the sense that it exists in culture. Whether it's real or not, you're not quite certain.
Well, he obviously thought it was real.
Yeah, Quick Switch was a believer.
Is it like almost like a El Dorado? It's like he's actually looking for like a place.
Yeah, it's a good analogy for it.
Is there a Cybertronian equivalent of Plato, who invented it, or?
Not that you know.
Well, I guess that's the beginning, but I guess maybe that shows where we should look, though. And since it's legendary, we're going to have to look at folklore. But also, Quickswitch had a reason to believe that there was something going on with them. So I guess I'll search the databanks on this computer, since this was his ship. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So turn it upside down, and
look in all the secret files.
Yep.
Yeah, you're actually not seeing anything in the ship's database. Maybe there's a mention of it in like Star Runner's logs. Maybe he saw it at one point. Maybe he visited it or knew something about it. And the more you think about it, the more you kind of realize maybe that's the reason why Quickswitch was so interested in that data crystal. Because if anyone would have known about the Harmonium or known about where it is, maybe one of Cybertron's first explorers would have seen something like that.
All right. All right. Well, I'll spend the remaining time going through the data crystals, and I'll try to make my own star map and just sort of build it. I mean, build on whatever he has so far and work from there.
You've already started doing that, too, with the information from the Central Archive, too.
Magnum, well, Pythagoras is doing that. He's going to be sort of stuck in one place. He will, let's see. He's going to try to connect to, there's a way to connect to anything on, like, Scarvix database and find, maybe a legal advisors for hire on Scarvix. Although he might not be able to get that information from here.
So effectively you need a lawyer? Like a Scarvix lawyer?
Well, I have a lawyer, but maybe a solicitor. I guess he'll study the he'll study the law books that we have too. So no hard. We get everyone getting prepared.
All right. Actually, well, since you are going to do that, I can give you a little bit of information. Actually, give me a quick culture check if you don't mind.
Just so you know, like, you rolled a 31 on diplomacy before. Do you know what I'd have to roll to get a 31? A 31.
It was sort of in his area. So culture 31.
You know a couple things about what's waiting for you on Scarvix when you arrive. You are likely going to be arrested the moment you land. Because of the simple fact that Hardtop is turning in the bounty for you, you are going to have to face the legal process of this. There's really no way to avoid that. But what's going to happen is you will be brought down to effectively the police station, arraigned, and the trial against you will commence probably pretty quickly, considering the nature of the theft. On the first day will be what's called the announcement phase, which is when charges are presented and when you enter a plea. That is the only thing that happens that day, and then depending on, then you're going to be essentially released in order to, get whatever you need, get a lawyer if you want one, figure out what kind of witnesses or testimony or stuff you want to do. The next day, the trial will start. That's when the prosecution is going to present their case. And then the following day is when you, as the defense, can present your arguments. And then on the fourth day, the verdict is delivered and you are sentenced. Or not sentenced, as the case may be.
Okay.
So you expect this process, because of the nature of the crime, to probably happen pretty quickly. And in fact, once you get there, it's likely that you will be put through the announcement process the next day.
Well, that's fine. Legally, since I'm basically bringing it back to them at this point, returning it voluntarily, pretty much, because I didn't have it when the bounty hunters first caught me. I don't know if we can. Maybe I just need to do more research. What would be the most advantageous way of returning it?
I want you to make a profession lawyer check. And anyone who wants to can assist with either an intelligence or wisdom check.
What about culture?
No, because I don't think this is particularly a cultural to Scarvix. I think this is more of a, hey, can you try to figure out what the best course of action is?
So It's intelligence plus 4. It's 24 plus 4 from Pat. Or 6 from Pat.
I rolled a 6. No, I rolled a 6.
Oh, now you're confusing me.
+2 for you, buddy.
All right, 26.
You think that giving the crystal just to the police when you arrive is not the greatest idea for your case, because it's just going to confirm that you took it, and then you'll be put on trial for taking it. You think that the best way of doing it is if you get the jury or get the trial on your side, and if you then present it, that would be the absolute best course of action.
Okay.
Not necessarily the only one, but the best one.
One thing I will do if I have time is try to, during our fight, basically we found it on him after we killed Trick Switch, right? So if there's any sort of recorders or cameras in there of us finding it, that would be good.
You want to put that together as evidence?
Because that would show that I didn't have it. Doesn't mean I didn't steal it, but we found it, and we're not giving it back because we have to. It's because we choose to.
Okay. Out of character, I would say make a note of all the things that seem like a good idea to present for evidence, because you might have to actually present it as evidence.
Alrighty. Alright, thank you.
Let's see here. Mike, what are you doing in the 5 days to Cybertron and then the 5 days over to Scarvix?
Still working on my computer skills, seeing if I can find any more research based on Tiona.
Okay. Works for me. And Sweet Spot, anything in particular that you would like to work on or do in the meantime?
Continue working on the scientific research, even though we're past the point where that would be most relevant. I did take a growing interest in the physical sciences, so I will continue working on that skill for the 5 days back to Cybertron, and then I will assist Magnum in any way that he needs in gathering information, putting together a legal case, and or representation for his upcoming case on the trip back to Scarvix.
Sounds good to me. Five days pass, and you make it back to Cybertron, get everything unloaded, drop off Bulkhead and his engineering team, get back right on the ship, and take off again, heading over to Scarvix. It takes another 5 days to reach Scarvix, as of course there is no space bridge directly there.
Before we get there, I want to make sure that the whatchamadingy that they want is stored in the ship probably in a shielded container, so it won't get picked up on sensors. I certainly don't want it in my pocket. and I guess one of you guys can hold on to it, but they might catch you with it. So probably in a shielded spot that no one knows except maybe Sweet Spot and the other guys. So Sweet Spot's helping. Maybe you can find one.
You mean like the two places that we just closed up?
Damn it. Well, they're going to use their own sensors, so it wouldn't matter. Yeah, they're not shielded, but yeah. Just find where all the cigarette butts are and the beer cans.
Yep, you can do that, no problem. And you come into Scarvix orbital space. The traffic control gives you a landing pad to put down on, and Silverlode orders the Steelhaven put down, and you guys land at the capital city of Scarvix. On the ground here, Scarvixian enforcers meet you at the landing pad and will take you into custody if you don't put up a struggle.
I won't. I will give...
It looks like they're dressed in black and white armor. How quaint.
I will give my weapons, I guess, to Carapace, such as they are. He's like, this is not a weapon.
When you die, can I give this to me daughter?
It's cute that you think you threaten people with this.
The chief investigator that is that's coming by with the security forces to arrest you, Hardtop and Diurnal approach them, and they have a couple of quick words. It looks like Hardtop presents something for him to sign, and the security chief there does. It looks like they're marking their bounty as completed. And as soon as they do, Hardtop pretty much just walks away. He's done with you. Diurnal goes ahead and turns around and gives you a smile there, sweet spot.
I smile back and give a little twiddly wave.
Call me. And the two of them will head off.
All right.
The security chief will escort you over to the main processing center for prisoners, and it looks like everything is kind of like moving as you expect. You're put in a cell, and there you're told that the announcement phase of the trial will begin tomorrow, and that your companions are invited to see you at the trial tomorrow. And you'll be expected once you enter your plea and that the charges have been arraigned, that you will be released, and you will have like a restraining bolt placed on you to help track you and to make certain you don't leave the planet.
Remarkably civilized, considering I basically committed the biggest crime possible on this planet. So.
Well, they are civilized people. They respect laws, whether or not the laws are just. As long as
this is like a classic lawful neutral society.
Exactly. This is like a big trading a sector too, a big trading planet. So contracts must be maintained and established. It's like the Ferengi, you know.
Well, I was thinking more of the devils, but you know,
there's no accounting for taste.
They're not necessarily evil. It's just that. Okay, you committed a crime. Now we're going to follow the proper procedure to try you for it.
Well, that's good, because that can work in your favor, too.
Mm-hmm.
Do they have juries here?
They do have juries, yes. However, you don't think you'll be tried by a jury, considering the weight of the crime.
That makes no sense, but I can see why they would want.
Right.
Sorry, what I mean is, like, you're probably going to be tried by, like, the high court, like the council of, like,
no,
the
I
high
understand.
court.
I mean, it's because they want control over the result. So
right.
It's sort of like a military thing that they don't want, legal niceties like human rights to get in the way of things like that.
The rest of you, I assume, are staying in the ship overnight?
Yeah.
Where are they keeping him?
Effectively in the main police building. Like the chief precinct there.
Do they have diplomatic facilities?
Yes, they would.
I would request to stay there, or a place that is very close to where he is, in case he should have need of legal counsel. I want to be able to be there right away for him.
Answer me this question here, Adam. High or low good for you?
That would be high.
Yes, Velocitron does have an embassy here. And you can contact the Velocitronian embassy, and they can arrange for some place for you to stay that is nearby. It is, I say embassy, but really it's like a corner of a diplomatic building.
Mm-hmm.
Not that amazing.
That's fine.
So that being said, the next day...
Actually, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, you're not.
But that evening, I would like to attempt to kind of...
Break him out of jail? What?
mingle with some of the other delegates and diplomatic types and see if I can get a feel for the room before I enter the room, so to speak.
Oh, okay. And you want to try and speak with Scarvixian officials or someone else?
Probably Scarvixian officials. Someone who would have an opinion based more on the local mindset.
All right. Give me a diplomacy check.
Ooh. A diplomacy check from the diplomats, you say?
Or profession diplomat, if you prefer. Now that you've identified you actually have a profession, rather than just profession.
I believe I'll go with straight-up diplomacy. And that is a very nice 21.
So you schmooze some of your fellow representatives and diplomats, and you get a couple of things that might interest you. One, you can confirm that the trial is not going to be a jury trial. He's actually going to be tried by the high administrators. So the three of them are going to be the ones who are hearing the case and making the final decision. So it's those three you're going to have to convince.
And what are the possible outcomes? Obviously, there is well, I suppose there's only two ways to go with only three of them. Because majority would win the day. Mm-hmm. So what are the possible outcomes that we would be looking at if a guilty verdict is returned?
Execution or life imprisonment.
See, that's the whole thing. Like, life means a whole other thing to these things, yeah.
For Transformers, yeah. And you get the sense that it's this way because of the severity of the theft. If it was anything else, you don't think it would be this potentially bad, but since it is effectively a holy relic for them, you can see why they're doing this, or why that's a potential outcome.
Is there a potential outcome where he isn't found guilty of the crime, per se, but an accessory to that would be, also somewhat bad for him?
Yeah, potentially. You would think that because of the severity of it, they're gonna treat it fairly similarly. But if your argument is good enough, you might be able to kind of reduce the sentence for it at least.
And general consensus, what do they think how do they feel about the whole thing? Are they more concerned with bringing him to justice, or are they fairly more concerned about just getting back the artifact, the symbol?
You get the sense that because don't forget they don't know that the binding crystal is here now. All that they've heard is that there's been an arrest in this case, and the first arrest to ever happen in this case. And, as we talked about last episode, this happened like a good 100, 200 years ago, so this has been like a thorn in their side for quite a while. An entire generation for some of these people have come and gone, and no resolution to it. So the fact that they have a suspect means that they're looking for blood. Even though Magnum doesn't have any blood to give. Really?
They're more concerned with justice being served to the guilty party instead of the possibility of, well, can we pump him for information, find out where it is, what did he do with it? Is there some way that we can get it back? That's not the top priority?
You don't get that sense. Okay. You get the sense that right now it's a bit more about punishment than anything else.
No one asked me, did they? They didn't ask me.
Yeah. I'll ask some probing questions as well to see if they even care that it still exists, where it might be. Is there a way for them to get it back? I'm careful not to let on anything that might clue them in that I have it or know where it is.
And you know what? Give me one more diplomacy roll, because I think this one will be a little bit tougher.
I can do that.
Just a little bit tougher. Matt's just patiently waiting here for his trial to start.
27. Even better.
After speaking with multiple people, and not just the Scarvixians, but even the other ambassadors that kind of work with them, you're getting the sense that a lot of Scarvixians believe that since they have an arrest now, they'll be able to backtrack where the crystal went now that they have a suspect. But they don't particularly care about Magnum himself. Like, they just want him punished, and that's it. They want that part done. They're more convinced that they're just going to do the work themselves to get the crystal back now that they have a potential lead. You get the sense that they're not relying on Magnum to give trustworthy or truthful information. You get the sense that they're planning to do the work themselves, and they're just going to punish Magnum.
All right, so they're just going through the steps. First things first. I get you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it's about time for me to hit the old dusty trail and put my wheels up.
Next morning, bright and early, Magnum, you are escorted to the courthouse, the High Courthouse, where they try matters of a political nature, and the rest of you are invited to join. Now, I'm going to move you, all of you, to a new map.
New map.
So this building is pretty enormous. It has to be considering the size of many of the people who are in it. It is very ornate and very well decorated. A kind of like classical motif, like friezes and reliefs along the upper parts of the wall. There is a large section towards the southern end of the entrance area that has enough space for probably about 100 viewers, like 100 people for just people who want to see the proceedings, and the moment you walk in, you can tell that it is packed. The viewing galleries are like almost completely full, but a couple of spaces have been saved up front for guests of the defendant. As you go further into the building, there is this kind of like low wall to separate out the sections of the trial from the viewing area. And if you look to the left and the right, there are two viewing galleries that are suspended above the trial floor. And you can see that each raised gallery is packed with people, at least a dozen, probably close to 24. And Magnum, both Magnum and Sweet Spot, you get the sense that these two galleries are for more important visitors, not so much like the viewing public, but for administrators of the trial, kind of mid-level diplomats, stuff like that. On each gallery, there is a door kind of leading off into into other parts of the courtroom, but there is no access to the raised viewing gallery on the sides from the trial floor. You can see in the middle of the floor there is a raised little pulpit here where you'd be expected to stand there, Magnum. To the left of that is the prosecutor's desk. To the right of that is the defendant's desk. In front of that are three tall raised desks where three fairly important-looking people are sitting. And beyond them is another viewing gallery that's raised up a good 10 to 15 feet, where it looks like other diplomats and administrators are watching the trial. So there's a lot of people watching you right now. Magnum, are you going to allow them to escort you to the pulpit in the middle?
Sure. I mean, I wouldn't be here if I was going to resist.
You never know.
Actually, this could be the good time to resist. I mean, you've got a good audience for it.
Yeah, wait till I'm actually in the courthouse to try to get away. I may be crazy, but I'm not stupid.
That makes for a more daring escape.
Now, let me ask you a question here, Sweet Spot.
Yes.
Are you going to be serving as his defendant?
If he would like me to, I certainly shall. I will, of course, accept any other legal help that he has acquired through communications, experts on the local law.
Pythagoras is going to be his lawyer, but if Sweet Spot could be his co-lawyer, that would be good.
Absolutely.
You're very good at persuasion.
Yes, of course.
I know something about the evidence stuff.
We are your legal team.
All right.
So, Magnum, you head to the center pulpit there. Sweet Spot, you head over to the defendant's table. The rest of you take your seats in the viewing area to the south. Legionnaire is there as well, so he can join you all. Once everyone is seated, you hear the sound of a gavel from up front. The person in the center desk, the center raised desk up front, he stands up and in a deep, booming voice,
I am Administrator Stanzamt, and I will be presiding over the trial of the people of Scarvix against Magnum of Cybertron. The other two members of this council are Vixia Ixaman,
he gestures to the left,
and Kultur Gerrit.
and he gestures to the right.
The charges presented are as follows. Conspiracy to steal cultural relics, assault on administration officers, theft of administration property, namely the binding crystal of Scarvix, falsification of records leading to improper security clearance, willful destruction of administration property, the Scarvixian Ministry of Culture, and finally, disobeying direct commands of the administration security officers. The defendant will now enter a plea. Guilty or innocent?
Spare me this mockery of justice!
My lord.
Who let Al Pacino in here?
But that sort of shocked me, like destruction of property, the ministry, the whole thing. Need some information here. My lord, I would like to plead not guilty.
That wasn't one of the choices.
Innocent.
Also, I don't think that applies to you.
I plead no contest.
There you go. That's the one.
The plea has been entered. A security band will be placed on your person and you will be remanded to your comrades to prepare for trial tomorrow. We begin in the morning.
A security bot comes over to you and places what looks like a restraining bolt on your leg. And you recognize it. I mean, you've seen stuff like this before. It contains a tracker and contains a device that if you leave the radius of the city, it will go down. It will effectively go into lockdown and lock you in place wherever you are. It'll just prevent you from moving.
All right, then. Time to go find some witnesses.
All right, and yeah, that's pretty much it for the first day, for the announcement phase. You're allowed to leave, and you start your moves and start heading out. Carapace, on the way out, a bot walks by you and kind of shoulders you, like walks by you, but kind of hits you on the way with his shoulder. And you don't really notice too much of it, because he kind of just walks by you, doesn't stop, doesn't apologize. He just kind of almost shoulders you out of the way, but it feels a little bit intentional.
So he's 16 feet tall?
You know, he's tall enough to hit you around him. That's all.
Okay. Well, I mean, you said he shouldered me. I mean, I'm a large creature now. So it's if he's going to shoulder me, he's got to be big. He can waist me or bump my leg with his shoulder, and I'm okay, that's that's a different thing. I just want him to know, or them to know, what they're dealing with.
More like your back, then, I guess.
Okay, so they shove me in a way.
Yeah.
Okay.
And after this happens, you feel something being placed in your hand. You look down, and there's a data slug in your hand.
Ew.
I'm a big fan of snails, more data snail.
We can call it a data snail. Sure, let's go for it.
I guess the impression is
it's a data snail in your hand.
There's a scene in Fight Club when they get onto the bus, and a guy passes by and just shoulders them, and he's just like I don't give a shit, he's not threatened by it, so that's what I kind of envisioned. I'm not hey, what the hell's going on, man?
Yep.
So someone slips it into my hand. Mm-hmm. Well, I close my hand and kind of look, do they keep walking or do they stop and talk to me?
No, The guy who shouldered you just keeps on walking on.
Okay.
Doesn't look back, doesn't say anything.
I try to remember who they are, just in case I need to track this person again.
Certainly.
But it's, I'll go, and once we're alone, I'll give the data slug to someone that knows how to use a data slug.
Fair enough. I imagine you would know how to use it too. That's not complicated technology.
Right. I know. But it's like
I feel like saying I don't know how to open a notebook. So
someone gave me a message. You guys like reading.
But yeah, nothing else happens really at the end of this section of the trial. But on the way out, you notice a ton of people that have kind of swarmed around the courthouse. It looks like mostly reporters, people trying to get a glimpse of the criminal of the century over here. They're not stopping you per se, but there's certainly a big crowd around the courthouse.
all right.
So we're not at a place where I can share this yet, right?
Not right now, no.
After the proceedings are done and people are getting up and moving around, I will step out from behind my desk and stroll ever so confidently across the courtroom to greet the prosecution. Hello there. My name is Sweet Spot. I'm a Lostronian representing Mr. Magnum, right over there. How you doing today?
Ah, so you are the person he got to defend himself. I don't envy your position right now.
Actually, I'm more of an assistant, legal advisor, such. That little guy sitting over there, behind the desk, you can barely see him. Pythagoras, stand up. Oh, you are? Okay, that bot right there?
Gets to wave his hat. That's all he can do.
Yeah, that bot is actually representing him, and also happens to be Magnum's head.
That is his lawyer?
Yes, that's his lawyer. I'm the assistant lawyer. I just wanted to come over and meet you and wish you good luck in the trial to come. Want to know if I would be able to take a look at your files, see what kind of a case you're building against my client.
I'm not sure how familiar you are with this Scarvixian law, but we are under no obligation to give you our evidence until the trial starts. All of the evidence will be provided to you as the case proceeds. You will, of course, have the chance to rebut it the following day, since you have the last word, as you can imagine.
Yes, this is my first time in the Scarvixian law, or courtroom for that matter.
Oh.
I am most impressed with the architecture alone. This is a beautiful, beautiful building.
This is your first case, then?
Yes, my first case here in Scarvix. And as such, I wanted to know a little bit more about the proceedings so I could, better prepare. And of course, I certainly wouldn't want to break any rules myself.
Of course not. Of course not. Well, as you are probably aware, tomorrow I will present my case along with all of the evidence gathered over the last, what has it been? Over 200 years since the theft?
232.
Of course. And then you will have the opportunity to reboot anything the following day and to, call any others witnesses to help your case.
Give me a sense motive check.
Gladly.
Is there any pre-butting that we could do?
Hold your butts. Hold your butts.
Hold your butt.
What did you ask for? Sense motive?
Sense motive.
Down here. Okay. Boom. 29. My goodness, that's a great roll.
You get the sense that there is kind of a blood in the water vibe coming from her. As soon as you said that this was your first case in Scarvix, like her eyes just lit up. It's like, first case, you say, huh?
That's good. Now I should be a little off guard. Not expecting much from you.
Just so you know as well, this looks like a female organic being that is about half your size.
Really?
Yes.
That's probably why she didn't hit on him immediately.
I'm just not attracted to the metal bots.
And she doesn't like big bot.
She cannot lie.
There's a lot of butts in this discussion lately.
Maybe I could take her for a ride sometime. It did wonders for Pythagoras.
Oh, my dear attorney, I would never fit inside you. You are far too small for me.
Oh, I can get bigger if that's what you need.
Wow, this is going to start having to be censored here.
What do you mean start?
Okay, well, on that note, if you guys are going to head out of the courtroom and back to the...
Before we leave, I assume Sweet Spot will tell me that they didn't give him any information. Well, what they didn't give him the evidence. Can I do a roll, a legal roll, to determine whether that's actually true, and if there's a precedent that we could get the evidence sooner?
Sure. Yeah, go ahead and do a professional lawyer check.
12. I have no idea.
Nope. As far as you know, that is 100% accurate.
That's bullshit elsewhere.
Well, no, in real life, it's bullshit. Yeah.
Guys, somebody handed me this while we were walking out of the talking place. So I handed it to you. I don't know what's on it, though. Like, you guys do your thing.
Plug it into her data pad.
Okay.
The data pad loads up. Oh, that's what's
It's an unsecured data snail, so yeah, you go ahead and plug it into a data pad, and there is one message on it.
All right.
I have information that can help your friend. Meet me tomorrow while everyone is focused on the trial. And it's followed by a time and a set of coordinates.
I was going to say, like, did it read with that accent?
I was wondering about that.
Yes.
It does remind me, Order the Stick was like that, too. When the dwarf wrote something, he wrote it with all the Scottish. He's like, you don't have to write with your accent. No, what accent?
Yeah. It's Zycon. No, you're saying it wrong. It's Zycon with a Z. You can't tell the difference. He's like, well, you could tell it now, can't you? Like,
Magnum, you go ahead and run those coordinates through the ship systems to see where that is in the city, and it is pretty much a restaurant.
Okay.
And it's in a decent part of town too. It's not like it's seedy or in a shady area.
This planet actually has like biological life on it, right? Is it nearby?
Oh yeah, totally.
I'm gonna go.
And I'm sure that you've seen mechanical life, biological, organic life, cyborgs, like just all sorts of different people, like just walking by as you're heading there, because this is like the capital city of Scarvix, so the shopping district is pretty close by too.
And if I had money, that would be great. Maybe I can like walk down like a dark alley and get jumped, and then take all the money from the people that like jump me. Like that'd be kind of cool. Yeah.
You want to do some shopping? I have something for you to go buy, and I have money.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'll go shopping for you.
Go. I need you to buy. You know all those instant knowledge chips that you can plug in to your head? Find one on local law, and you can spend whatever you need.
Okay.
If you're gonna go out, because that's something I would really need right now.
Absolutely.
With that, the message says to meet with this person tomorrow. We'll go ahead and decide that during the trial next time, and we will see you next time. For the trial of Magnum.
Oh boy.
Dun dun.
From the Secret Files of Teletran 1, Empire of Rust is written and GM'd by Michael Ordway. Headmaster Magnum and his partner Pythagoras are played by Matthew G. Candidate Sweet Spot, representative of Velocitron, is played by Adam H.U. The Decepticon Warrior, Wildstrike, is played by Mike M. And Carapace, the Beast Soldier of Primitive Eucharis, is played by Patrick Finn. Additional characters are played by Michael and Cassandra Ordway. Empire of Rust is supported by the humans and networks of planet Earth, whose online networks provide access to libraries of sound effects and music, such as Storyblocks, Zasplat, Blue Zone, and Dark Fantasy Studios. We are distributed by the Transmissions Podcast Network. Stay up to date with all the latest news and reviews in the world of the Transformers by going to transmissionspodcast.com or searching for the Transmissions in your podcast app of choice. You can communicate with the heroes of Iacon by joining us on the Transmissions Discord channel. There you can discuss episodes, talk to the cast, and download the rule set used in the Empire of Rust. Teletran 1, signing off.